Now, a plan to help alleviate the intense pressures on the NHS emergency care in England will be revealed by the government tomorrow.
One of the many challenges facing healthcare bosses is the high rate of hospital readmission, often caused by a lack of adequate support of elderly and vulnerable patients after they're discharged. One hospital in Portsmouth has developed its own approach to supporting those patients, as our reporter Alistair Fee has been finding out.
Alicia is getting a lift home from hospital. She's been here since Boxing Day.
I thought I was going to be in just for 24 hours, but it turned out it was flu.
The team picking her up will also get her settled back home.
Otherwise, I would have to have a taxi, and you could be waiting for a while, and I feel it is necessary.
It's called Driving Miss Daisy, a new service that recognises the extra support that some patients need.
We take as much time as is needed to get the patient settled in at home, and that could be making sure that their shopping's done, that they are warm, that we liaise with social services or family or primary care to ensure that there's a seamless handover from the hospital to the person being in their own homes.
For those that have had a long stay, leaving hospital is a vulnerable time. It's hoped this service will reduce the number of failed discharges. That's patients who quickly return, taking up much-needed beds.
We've got several examples of where we think that the patients would potentially have been brought back if we'd been using a different service. Driving Miss Daisy, as I say, there are several examples over recent weeks where we know they probably would have come back as a failed discharge and therefore we would have started the whole process again.
I travelled home with Christine to see how the system was working. She was offered help with shopping, and her driver would have stayed at home with her if she needed the extra support.
A lot of people don't know about these extra services, but once you get the word out, then I think it'd be brilliant for a lot of people, which is ideal for what you need after you've been in hospital for a long time. So very, very pleased with the service.
The Queen Alexandra has only just come out of a long critical incident. This discharge lounge plays a huge part in freeing up beds.
This critical incident did last longer. We've learnt a lot through it. We've changed some processes through it, but we're achieving now what we set out to achieve, which is to enable us to get people to the right place quickly and to discharge people quickly.
This service is making a difference, but the challenge of getting patients home will be a major part of the puzzle of pressures throughout this winter.
Well, Alistair Fee was reporting there. More on this now from Jacob Lant, Head of Policy at Healthwatch England Patient Group. A very good morning to you. Good to see you. What we're learning at the moment, what we've known for some time, is that getting discharge right, getting support in the community right, is integral to stop those revolving doors of patients coming in. What is going wrong?
Well, you're absolutely right. Getting people home safely from the hospital is absolutely critical, both for the patients themselves, so they can recuperate well at home, but also so we don't add further pressure onto hospitals, which we know are under extreme stress at the moment. Some of the things that are going wrong are precisely what we heard in the piece at the moment, that those sort of basic checks, helping make sure people got food in at home, that their heating is working, those things aren't being done necessarily consistently across the country. And so as a result, people come back into hospital because they pick up infections, they suffer from pneumonia, or they may have a fall, and all of that could be prevented if we were focusing more on discharging people safely.
Is part of the issue here that the hospital will take care of your health, but when it comes to making sure you're safe in the community, it comes down to social care, and often those two services aren't linked?
I think that's part of the problem, is that the communication between the health service and social care is a challenge. Also, the resourcing of social care is really significant problem here, that we know social care doesn't have the money it needs to provide care consistently for people in their own homes. But it's also not just about formal social care. So the scheme we heard about, the Driving Miss Daisy scheme, that's not formal social care. It's not long-term support, and it's not really that expensive either. So actually more services like that to help the people who don't need long-term help at home, but need just a little bit of a helping hand at the beginning, they're really, really essential. We need to see more services like that around the country.
I guess it's about who's taking responsibility for that handover, isn't it? And tomorrow the government will hold its urgent and emergency healthcare plan. Will there be something in that, do you think, some detail on supporting that transition when people get home?
I think a big focus of what we're hearing is going to happen tomorrow is this idea that we're going to be looking after people more at home. So if you think no one really wants to go into hospital, hospitals are noisy, busy places, and if you can be looked after at home, that's a good thing. And so actually providing the support for people at home, making sure that they are monitored safely at home, making sure that there's people going to check on them so that they are supported there and don't have an incident that means they have to go into hospital in the first place, or if they're discharged, they're kept at home safely. That's the key thing tomorrow that we want to see.
And we've learned today about plans to roll out virtual wards using technology with people within the home so they can be advised on their healthcare. First of all, how would that work? And secondly, would it work with the kind of patients we're talking about, often elderly, often vulnerable, not always as tech savvy?
Absolutely. It's virtual wards can sound quite scary and futuristic as a concept. Really, they're actually quite simple in their theory. They use new technology to do some of the checks and monitoring that would happen in hospital, but in your house. But you're absolutely right, not every patient will necessarily be familiar with that sort of technology, so it's really important that we are providing training and support for patients when they're discharged home, that how that technology works, providing them with a consistent and easy point of contact should they be confused or if something goes wrong. And ultimately, I think also we need to be evaluating these programs. So virtual wards have been used to help people this winter already. We're looking at massively expanding them for next winter. But let's ask people who've experienced a virtual ward what worked, what didn't, what could we do better to make sure when they're rolled out next winter, ahead of next winter, that they are operating as best as they possibly can.
And you mentioned it there, it will be next winter, but things are critical this winter. We know that people are dying and need support at hospital and in the community. Do you worry that it's coming too late?
I think always with these schemes, with the NHS coming under pressure every winter, what we need is long-term planning and consistent support going into the system so we can avoid these sort of pressure points that we experience. So whether it be new funding, new ideas, they need to be applied consistently and then actually supported for the long term. It's not enough just to put them in place for the few months of winter. So that's what I'll be looking for, is how we can have those initiatives rolled out long term and supported long term. So like Driving Miss Daisy, how can we make sure that happens in every part of the country and is funded all year round?
And Jacob, finally, quickly, there's this perpetual debate about whether it's about money in and of itself, whether there's enough, or whether it's being managed in the right way. Is the budget there, but it's just not being allocated right, or does it just need a big injection of cash into health and social care?
I think if we come back to the point about short-term thinking, so a lot of the pots of money that get put in the NHS are put in sort of last minute and with conditions around how that money is spent, which can be really difficult for local hospitals and council social care teams to actually work out how they're going to spend that and report on it. And what we need is the long-term funding and sustainable investment to make sure that we don't have that short-term thinking, that it is a sustainable plan for the long term.
We wait to hear more details tomorrow. Jacob Land, Head of Policy Research and Partnerships at Healthwatch Patient Group. Thank you for your time this